is a hybrid meeting, meaning that we are on the Zoom as well as in the Village Hall. There is the Zoom link at the top of the agenda, and there, for those that choose, we also have a audio call-in phone number with the meeting ID as well at the top of the agenda. We have a quorum, I can see. We don't have to do we have a quorum in the room, so. The agenda was properly posted, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up, we have public appearances, public's opportunity to speak on any subject. If you are from the public and wish to speak, we just ask that you share your name, your address, municipality, and hold your comments to no more than 3 minutes. So I will pause and allow anybody on the Zoom, looks like, or audio, because there's no one in the room here from the public, to jump in. All right, move on then. Item 5 is discuss and consider meeting minutes from our Plan Commission meeting held on September 14th. Any questions, comments, edits regarding the meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Heidi, and thank you, Fred. Thank you, Troy. I think I heard too. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Item 6, then I'd like to open a public hearing. This is a public's opportunity to provide input on an application from Matt Krugman to amend the existing conditional use permit for vehicle sales and service land use at 110 Limestone Pass to allow a second drive-through at that strip mall. Aaron?
Yeah, so this is the same building where Dunkin' Donuts is going. Mr. Krogman has a potential tenant lined up on the south side that also would require a drive-through, and I thought I saw Matt on the Zoom, if you'd like to jump in and tell us a little more about it.
Sure, thanks folks. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. So we do have a tenant lined up. We have a letter of intent in place. This is another fast casual national restaurant that I think everybody will be very appreciative having coming to town. One of the things when we were working with them that was pretty much a necessity, and a lot of folks are making these shifts coming out of COVID in terms of pickups, is a pickup window. So one of the things that I do want to make clear here is we have slightly remodified the southwest corner of the building and the driving path to make sure it would be safely passable for all. This pickup window is a requirement, essentially, when we were getting into the conversations with this tenant. If we were not able to provide this pickup window, there's a high chance that they would move on and look to do something else. So we're trying to figure out a way to accommodate these folks. I use the term pickup window as opposed to drive-through because this is not going to be utilized in a typical drive-through fashion, like we would see on the north side with Dunkin' Donuts, Baskin-Robbins combo. I know we had some discussions with several other Plan Commission and board members around car stacking, being able to drive around on the north side of that. So we accommodated a lot of those typical drive-through congestion issues. In this case, and I actually want to pull something up because their national rep sent me a little bit of detail regarding how they use the pickup window, and I'm going to read their response here. So it says it is, and I want to make a point again. There's no menu board. You cannot, in this circumstance, use the pickup window to order. This is only for prepaid pickups only. So his comments are, it is very rare to have more than 1 or 2 cars in the pickup lane at any given time. Customers order online via mobile app or call in and prepay. So they literally pull up at a designated time to grab their food. Further, we meter the total number of orders in any 15-minute increment, so the flow through the window is controlled. No menu order board. If you do the math on total daily average orders, it's dramatically less than a typical drive-through. So, you know, we did have to come back to the plan commission group here, and we'll have to talk to the rest of the village board, because, you know, it's a big enough change that it falls under the conditional use for the drive-through, and we appreciate Aaron's help and comments on that. But I do want to stress the difference that this is not going to be a high-volume drive-through. It is essentially a pickup window loop, and will be treated as such. So I'm happy to answer any other specific follow-up questions, but that's the gist of what we're looking to do here.
All right, thanks, Matt. Anybody from the public? All right, we'll close the public hearing portion and move right into discussing this application. And Matt, or Aaron, do you want to go through any of the conditions?
Sure, so there's two separate action items. The first would be the conditional use permit and then the site plan. You'd recommend approval of both with a set of conditions. We don't have a separate staff report from Strand because it was kind of a minor change, but they did review it and provided some feedback that they'd like to see the drive-through lane be a minimum of 14 feet just to improve the maneuverability through there. We started looking at some of the signage from Dunkin' Donuts, and they had some directional signage. We just want to make sure any new directional signage for this facility gets coordinated and it all makes sense and doesn't confuse people. So any new or changed signage we'll want a staff review of. Likewise, if there's any canopies or new signage related to the pickup window, we just want to see that. And the fourth one, just as Matt was explaining, this is just a pickup window without a menu board, and with kind of stacking and traffic differences that would imply. So if this would ever change in the future to a more traditional drive-through with the menu board, it would have to come back here so we could kind of look at it in that context. I know we did get one email from an adjacent property owner with a few traffic concerns, and we asked Josh to kind of take a look at that. So Josh, I don't know if you had any comments.
If we want to kind of look at those a little bit, I don't know if we want to go through and kind of discuss each one. Is that how we want to do it? Or? We can. I think some of the comments were a few of them. One is landmark adjacent to this site.
We can't hear what Josh is saying.
Yep, thank you. So some of those comments entail, the first one was landmark. Some of the vehicles pulling out onto landmark are heading north and south in the wrong direction because it's a boulevard section. So they're coming out and they're going up instead of crossing at some of the medians. And I think, you know, part of that, JJ and I have talked about a little bit. I think it's something to watch. The roadway is about 18 feet of pavement on both sides, so it can maybe feel a little wide. If it continues to be a problem as this continues to develop, you could always stripe a bike lane on both sides at 4 feet out to just kind of separate so that vehicles wouldn't feel like, wait a minute, there's two lanes here. It's actually just one lane coming in one direction. You know, but I think that will kind of, as it builds out and people get familiar with the area, you know, I don't see that as, you know, a specific issue for this one development. It's for all of them. Then there was another one just about parking on the roads around here, and you know, looking especially in Limestone Pass, it is sized. It is 40 feet wide, and you know, it's sized for parking on both sides with 24 feet of space in between. So I know there was some thought about later maybe Public Works and others look at parking throughout these streets. Some of these streets are sized right and do accommodate parking on both sides like they're seeing on Limestone. More specifically to this development, they were just concerned about some of the turning. When you look at this, there's a right in, right out on Landmark, and then there is a full access on Limestone, and they're just worried about that when you get to N, there's only a right in, right out. So if you want to go south, you're likely coming out of this on Limestone, you're going back up Landmark Drive to come back down on Gaston. And we kind of always knew that was the case. It's kind of the way it's set up. You can't go out onto County Trunk N from Limestone and take a left out of there, which will help traffic on N. There's a little bit of conversation in here about backing traffic up on N, but that shouldn't be the case because there's no stopping on N where Limestone comes out here. If there's going to be delay, it will be on Limestone as they're waiting to take their right-hand turn out. But there's 2 lanes there, so it shouldn't really be that bad. They should be able to turn in one as people are going through. So,
Josh, are we going to have signage? I'm assuming we're going to have signage, so like at the stop sign, you'd have a placard there that
No left
says,
turn or-
no left turn.
Yeah,
And then
there's-
if you look out, there's one that says an arrow saying.
that says, yeah, that has the other way. There'll be some signage out there
Yeah,
as part of it.
that would help, too.
Yeah, and there was talk in in the email about, well, even from Cottage Grove Commons on the opposite side of Limestone, people are making a left out of there even though they're not supposed to and heading north up N. Well, as part of that project this year, we extended that median down further so they can't really make it, and we slipped in a left turn bay that will be kind of all delineated out differently. So that's going to function differently than it has in the past. So some of those concerns should be alleviated with those improvements as part of this. The other thing was just traffic overall. I think just a concern for traffic as this thing continues to develop, and should there be new control in different areas. Changing this to just a pickup window versus like a full drive-through really doesn't change the use probably of what may have been there before as far as, vehicles in and out. And I would say a lot of this development, this Commerce Park has been set up for traffic. It's been set up for a lot of traffic with Gaston, with some of these restrictions and the turns on N. And we have to realize that before, anything's even needed, we'd have to get to a decent delay. So for instance, if we want to get rid of a stop sign and put in a signal per se, you're gonna have to see an average delay of 35 to 50 seconds every time you approach that. And I just don't think, with what we're seeing now, you have that out there. I think this is more of a monitor it. And if it really, if there really is an issue, it can always be added or corrected later. I don't think maybe the addition of just one business, if we were just talking about this one specific thing, is really the threshold that's gonna throw it over. It's a combination of everything, that would do it. But right now, it appears most of it's all signed and the warrants for the intersections all seem to be met out there. It doesn't seem like you're getting a large delay in any one intersection, that is a concern at this point. So, while the comments are noted, I feel like these are some things that you more just keep a tab on, and they're not maybe, things that are happening right now today. I think the worry is, as this continues, just to watch it and monitor it.
Are there questions from commission members for either Matt or staff?
I have a question, John. And that kind of builds on what Josh was just talking about, something maybe to add to monitor. The residential portion on Landmark, right to the south, and then because there's a signal at school, that there may be tempting for traffic to increase down there to then continue to the south by the signal at school. So as we continue to study traffic in other residential areas that have talked about, speed and things, that we might want to add this to the list of areas just to keep an eye on and look at traffic counts and stuff, and for traffic calming measures and that.
I think it's good. That's a great idea. JJ and I have talked about that a little bit because people will, tend to maybe go south too to make that left turn instead of going back up to Gaston. So traffic calming may be needed as you get more and more traffic to the south in some of these other streets. That will just have to be something you have to monitor as part of this. So you make a good point, Heidi. I have a question, I guess, for the group, only because we've been involved for a little over a year now, and I haven't seen some of the other sites develop out here. In the email also, they talked about a traffic impact analysis, a TIA or TIS you would get for specific businesses or larger kind of developments. What have you guys done in the past for like when Culvers have come in, or like Jimmy John's. Now, I'm assuming maybe Summit came in because it was a kind of a mass development and did it some sort of a traffic impact, maybe for that. But Aaron, has there ever been something that has, tripped? Is there a certain thing that kind of trips that trigger?
I think just the size. I think Summit
Yeah.
was the one where it was done. Johnson Health Tech was before my
Yep.
time, but it was also, I think, the first one in the park, so it may not have been as big of a deal. But something like Culver's or Jimmy John's, there was no specific traffic, it was just kind of looked at, on a site level like this.
I feel that's appropriate. I was just curious, where it has been done before, because they mentioned that in the email too, of should there be a traffic, study. And a lot of times you don't see it for one smaller, it's not a small site, but, one specific site like this is maybe a larger development or a larger, business coming in. Or you might do it right away. When you looked at the whole Commerce Park, you probably, at that point when they designed it, they probably studied what kind of traffic's gonna be generated out of that, and that set up Gaston, that set up School, that set up Limestone. That's when they kind of addressed some of that. And it appears that they did that as part of this.
Other questions, comments? I'm just looking over there, Alex. You look lonely. I actually had a question for Matt. How much more space is this potential tenant going to take out of that building?
The letter of intent that we have right now is for 2,163 square feet in the southwest corner.
Okay.
So we had originally looked at this building as a 7 to 8 tenant building of roughly 2,000 square foot per. Given what Duncan has taken in the northwest and then what this group have taken in the southwest, we either have now roughly one 3,700 square foot user or so in that highway end facing middle, which would be ideal, or we're going to have two sort of really small bays on that side. But
Okay.
that's what things shape up to be.
Okay. Very good. Alex, did you have a question or no?
Oh, okay. I guess I can make a statement. I think regardless of, I think the innovations here is pretty cool because we've all done pickups where we've parked the car and run in, and we've all seen the person parked in the wrong spot, taking up all the lines, sitting in the middle of the drive lane. Just anyone who's coming in, and thanks to staff for working with developers through some of these innovative ideas to get people in and out of the area, kind of quicker. It's actually kind of a neat project. So I don't know. That's my own statement. Thanks.
Thanks, Alex. All right, if there are no other questions or comments, this is a discuss and consider.
I'll make a motion to approve the application from Matt Krogman to amend an existing conditional use permit for an in-vehicle sales and service land use at 110 Limestone Pass to allow a second drive-through with staff conditions.
Second.
All right. Thanks, Heidi. Thanks, Troy. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next, then, we have discuss and consider an application from Matt Krugman to amend the existing site plan to allow this second drive, which is not a second drive, it's actually not a drive-through, it's a pickup window, at 110 Limestone Pass. Any other items on that? I think you covered it already. Josh, nothing else? Make room to, they made room for all the cars to move around and everything, it sounds like?
Like stated earlier, it's nice that they're controlling the timing of it too.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, they're controlling the timing of the traffic at their site, right? So it's a smart concept, and businesses are moving towards that so they can manage.
It also helps the staff inside the
Yep,
building, too.
it does. Yeah.
Any questions from commission members on this? All right. Then this is discuss and consider as well.
I'll make a motion to approve, amending the existing site plan to allow a second drive-through at 110 Limestone Path, or pickup window maybe call that a pickup window instead of a drive-through.
All right, thanks, Troy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Heidi. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, thanks, Matt.
Thank you all, we appreciate it.
Next up, we'll open a public hearing. This one is a public's opportunity to provide input on an application for a Cleary building for the approval of a conditional use permit to allow the construction of an accessory building in excess of 1,000 square feet at 4207 Vilas Road. I don't know if the applicant is on.
See them unless they're on the other screen, but it's a fairly straightforward project. This is a single-family residential property. It's zoned rural holding, fairly large lot, 4.5 acres, a little more than 4.5. They're seeking to do a larger accessory building, which is allowed in the rural holding district, but if it's over 1,000 square feet, they have to come in and get a conditional use permit. This one is larger than that, so they are requesting that approval. We'd recommend approval. The only condition we had, there just seemed to be a discrepancy between the site plan and the application form. We just want to clarify the exact size of the building and provide a corrected plan if necessary.
Okay.
If there's any issue with the size of the building at that location.
All right, anybody from the public want to weigh in on this? All right, then we'll close the public hearing and move right down to item 10, which is, again, for the application of this Cleary building at 4207 Vilas Road. Any questions from commission members?
I have one.
Please.
Where, I guess maybe unless I missed it. Where exactly is it going on the property in relationship to the property lines? Because I didn't see any conversation, Aaron,
It's
on
a little, it's
on
on the
property
site plan,
line.
it's a little hard to see because it's kind of a light line that's on some other lines, but it's 50 feet off the
Oh.
property line.
There it is.
More than 50, which there is a 50-foot setback, but it is,
Okay, I'm good. Yeah, I see it now that you mentioned.
I had to look for it a little bit too.
That's plenty of space to put a big building on, too.
I'll move to approve an application from Cleary Building for approval of a conditional use permit to allow construction of an accessory building in excess of 1,000 square feet at 4207 Vilas Road.
All right. Thanks, Fred. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Alex. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next up, future agenda items.
I'm not sure about November, but there is a entity that's purchasing the lot immediately north of the Dunkin' Donuts building. They're shooting to come in here probably in December with the site plan. You may recall kind of across the street from Culver's, a little bit up the street, we had an approved site plan for Avid Risk Management a year or so ago. That project's not moving forward, but the builder that was associated with it is negotiating to buy that property and has a nice project lined up. Probably will be in within the next couple of months with that. And then a few other larger projects, probably looking at early 23.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Aaron. Item 12.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Fred. Non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.